Today we're going to be talking about the Mets, and their season is probably over. If you like the video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. So, on my last video I talked about how I thought the Mets were done, and now I feel that it's official now. They have totally gotten spanked by the Dodgers and the Giants. Some of the games not even competitive, and they still cannot hit. And now on top of that, I've been hearing rumors or news, whatever you want to talk about, that they're leaning towards shutting deGrom down because obviously they're under 500 now. I feel they're done. And I feel they should shut him down. I would too. I wouldn't bring him back because right now he's not even throwing. So he's still in rest mode. I think he still has 1 week left. So that would put it towards the end of August before he even picks up a ball and starts throwing. Then you need Munner. So maybe at the earliest, middle of September. And it's just not worth it. He's too valuable. He has... It would just be stupid. It wouldn't make any sense. And you just gotta say next year, hopefully he's 100% healthy for next year, and he doesn't get hurt and stuff like that. Because with the Mets, you could see they are in a tremendous decline. They are just not playing good baseball, and the Braves are just on fire. And that's one of the biggest issues I have with the Mets. Like, I feel like they have missed on a lot of their first-round picks. And honestly, my last video, I said Nimmo and Alonso were the only, halfway decent people. Alonso really is the only good player they have, I really feel. I like Nimmo, and he has a 400 on base, but he's got 3 home runs and like 17 RBIs. Like, that's just horrible. Even if he had an on base, and he's not even hitting 300. So right now he's giving you 40 on base, and he's hitting 270, but 3 home runs and 18 RBIs. And because the offense is terrible and he hasn't been out, I don't even think he has 50 runs scored. So I mean, he doesn't steal bases. So now I'm starting to feel like, is Nimmo, is he part of the championship team? Because, again, I'll say right now, Alonso is the only one performing. And, yes, he's only hitting like 260. But I feel like every game he's out there and he's busting his butt. And he's sliding hard and he's running hard. And he's diving for balls. And, like, some of these other guys are just, like, going through the motions. So, I say on August 20th, the Mets are done. As a Met fan, there's just too much to overcome. The Braves are on fire. And I would just shut deGrom down. You don't have him there. And then if you look at the rotation, Carrasco, I know he's been hurt most of the year, and he's still trying to get back in it, but he's been awful. He's been awful. He just got blown out the other day. I didn't love the Lindor trade. I know they didn't give up much, but then they gave him a boatload of money. But I love the Carrasco move, and he's been horrible. Horrible. And then Taijuan Walker is a completely different pitcher. It's probably because the last 2-3 years he's only thrown a combined like 40 innings. So he's totally tiring. So now, if I don't see them conceding the season, but right now, don't rush Lindor back, even though he's been out a while. I wouldn't even bring deGrom back. I wouldn't bring Syndergaard back. Just let him go into the offseason hurt, and he never showed that he can do anything. And Stroman has been okay, but I still feel Stroman is extremely overrated. He's a 5-inning pitcher. He talks a big game like he's the number one, and he's not. He had plenty of opportunities to be number ones on this road trip, the series against the Phillies, and he failed. The other day, I know he did throw 7 innings. I think he gave up 3 runs, but you got to give up 1 run or 0. Stop the bleeding. That's what aces are for. He will most likely be gone at the end of the year. I would not bring him back at all. Let him go into free agency. I don't even know if I'd give him a qualifying offer because he might just take it again. So that's a tricky thing. But one bright spot in the rotation is McGill. I'm not saying he's deGrom or even Syndergaard, but he was an unrated prospect coming into this year. He pitched well in AAA, but the book on him was he only had one good pitch, fastball, but he's come up and he's shown that he has a decent slider and decent changeup, and he's mostly only gone 5 innings. I think he had like 3 rough. I think he's started like 10 or 11 times. I don't know exactly. I think he's had 3 rough starts, but then he's had 2 starts that were really good, 6 innings, and then the rest are 5. So he's kind of like a 5-6 inning pitcher, but they're also, I think he's thrown over 90 pitches once, and I think as high as like 94, but at least he's shows promise for the future. And I've been getting a lot of slack for this, but the rotation, whatever, the bullpen, whatever, I'm not really a fan of Diaz, but if you want to roll with him, you gave up a lot for him, that's fine. The rest of the bullpen is solid. Some guys will be gone, like Familia. That'll be a lot of money off the books. But it's just hitting. You need to blow up the entire offense. Because unless you have the Dodgers rotation with Buehler, Kershaw, Scherzer, Bauer, like Urias, you have to be able to hit. And they don't have that rotation. And I've been getting a lot of slack. Like I think I said the other day that obviously I would they have 2 catchers. They have McCann and Nito. I'm fine with them, even though McCann I feel has been kind of a bust. But he's still been better than Ramos and some of the other guys they had. And then their number 1 prospect is a catcher. So after this year, I think McCann has 3 more years on his deal. So by the time maybe 1 more year, that catcher might be ready, and hopefully he's something. First base, obviously, I don't want to hear it anymore. Pete Alonso is the first baseman. I don't care if Dominic Smith is a little bit defensively. Dominic Smith is so overrated. And you know what? I have seen a dramatic change in Pete Alonso's defense this year. Is he Keith Hernandez? No. But he is, I would say, above average, and he's definitely gotten better than last year. And he is your best hitter as of right now, and that's it. He's a lock. Obviously, they signed Lindor. Not a fan of it, but he's here, and that's it. And hopefully next year he'll play a little. He can't play. I feel he can't play any worse, so he's locked in at short. And yes, you can't get rid of everybody, so I would say keep Nimmo in center. That's fine. And even though I'm a huge McNeil fan, he has extremely disappointed me. I feel like he's completely changed his swing. He was more like a level swinger, hit like 320, maybe hit like 12 to 15 home runs, maybe just 10 to 12 home runs. But that's what the Mets need. And now all of a sudden I feel like all the time he's swinging for the fences, and it's not even working for him. I don't even think he has 10 home runs. And he's just a completely different hitter. I don't know what happened, if he changed it or they told him to change it or what. But I would say just give him another chance. He has been banged up. Maybe he's playing a little hurt. So that's fine. But I say third base, right field, and left field, you need upgrades. I have been extremely disappointed in Dom Smith. I haven't liked him. Like, last year he proved me wrong. He played well. But before that, he showed me nothing. He came in out of shape and fat. But if you had to, I could live with him in left field. I'd rather not, but I know you can't change everybody. So, but Conforto, I don't want to see him anymore. And, oh my God, he has like 4 or 5 solid games in a row against the Washington Nationals, who have nobody. I could go out there and pitch as well as those guys did. And he hit a couple of doubles and some home runs, and Rojas puts him right back in to the cleanup spot. And then I see him striking out with guys on base, like not even advancing runner, sacrifice fly. I've seen enough of Conforto. I wouldn't even give him the qualifying offer because I wouldn't give him the qualifying offer because he would accept it. Because it'd probably be like $19-20 million a year, and he would accept it. I'm not doing that. So he needs to go, and I'm not giving him a long-term contract. Now, if he wants to come back on a prove-it deal, like a couple $1 million a year with some incentives, maybe. But I feel I've seen enough, because besides last year, which was, I feel kind of, it's like a weird season. Like a lot of guys that were really, really good did really, really bad. And then guys that did pretty well, like a Tom Smith and a Conforto, have done nothing this year. They've been, I say Dom Smith has been average. Conforto's been way below average. But Dom Smith, if I say average, he has played almost every game. He's been healthy, and he's hitting like 240 with like 10 home runs. Like, that just doesn't do it. But obviously, I know you can't replace everybody. I would like to replace Dom Smith, but if you had to keep him, that's fine. But third base and right field, there has to be an upgrade. I don't know who. It's a shortstop free agent pool, and they already got one who, in my opinion, I don't even think of all the free agent shortstops of the Seager, the Correa, Baez. I don't even think, well, I would take Lindor over Baez, because Baez is just overrated in my opinion. And I said it before that they went out and they were like it's so funny. You had the owner, Steve Cohen, texting about how the offense is so undisciplined. And then he goes out, and I'm sure he had influence, and then they go out and they trade for the most undisciplined hitter in the entire league. Like, just watching him, and I've seen his numbers. I have him on my fantasy team. He has like 23, 24 home runs and like 60-something RBIs. But the guy just swings. Like, I don't know why anybody throws him a strike. Like, why you ever throw him a strike. He has like 4 or 5 walks on the year. I don't want to see him anymore. But I don't know where they're going to go. Do Chris Bryant? See, Chris Bryant to me is weird. Like, to me, he's definitely not worth $300 million. I know he's a former MVP, but I feel like he's like that notch below. Like, if you look at his numbers now, like, I'd rather have had him than Baez. But I heard reports on like an MLB Network how they liked the prospects they got from the Giants, and then they said that they really kind of just were like pushing him on the Mets, like, no, you don't want Bryant, you want Baez, and they took him, which is crazy how you get influenced, but whatever. And they also said that he had like no market, so if the Mets didn't trade for Baez, they probably wouldn't have traded him. So that shows you that nobody really likes Baez, and he's not going to go out there and get a lot of money. I definitely wouldn't. But Bryant, I just feel is like, he's like that next tier. Like, I think he's hitting like, 270, 22, 23 home runs, which is solid. But the Mets need someone like my thing. Like, they gave all that money to Lindor. He needs to carry the team. Like, he needs to carry it, and I don't think he's that kind of player. I just don't. I don't think he's that generational player. I think he's a good player. But the Mets have a lot of work to do. Like I said, I would definitely shut down deGrom. I feel the season's over, and I like to stay positive. I'm still there, the sucker, watching them play, getting frustrated. But I feel like all the time, especially in the first inning, man, they always have like runners on second and third, no out, or 1 out, or first and second, no outs, 1 out. And it's just like strikeout. They need to find, I know the league is tons of strikeouts, but they have to find somebody that can hit for average. Like, I don't know who it is, who the guys are, but that's who I would go out looking for. Like, some kind of player like that, even if they only hit like 10 home runs a year, but they need someone that just hits like over 300. They have no one that hits over 300, and the team, like I said, I just think they need to blow up the offense. Like, if you want to stay, like I said, stay pat with the rotation, that's fine. Hopefully deGrom, I mean, I'm getting worried about deGrom. He had a whole bunch of injuries this year. Like, he had like a shoulder, lat, elbow, like so bad. It's like crazy. But, injuries are part of the game, and you just have to break it down. Like, will any team be healthy? Like, you never know But health aside, because obviously you want everybody healthy, their rotation next year is fine. Because if you have deGrom, then Carrasco's here for another year. Hopefully he can improve on it. And then you have Taijuan Walker. And then you have McGill, who stepped up this year. And Peterson took a step back, but he's still going to be healthy next year. So there's 5 pitchers. If you want to go out and send Peterson back to the minors or McGill back to the minors next year and bring a guy in, that's fine. But I know, say, who are you going to bring in? A Scherzer? I know he didn't even want to get traded for the Mets, so I highly doubt he's going to sign with the Mets. But the rotation at least is okay. It's not leaky. They still have they have 5 starters that'll be back next year with deGrom, Carrasco, Taijuan Walker, McGill, and Peterson. So at least they have 5. And then the bullpen, Familia will be gone. They better sign Aaron Loup. That guy has been ridiculous. He's probably going to command a lot more money, but I would bring him back. He has been great. So they lose. So Loup's a free agent, so is Familia. Familia can go. And you have Diaz. Like I said, I'm not a fan, but it is what it is. He's here. He's solid. I would never trust him in the playoffs. But I feel they don't, have too much to do in the bullpen. I would definitely bring Loup back, and maybe you could bring another arm in because Trevor May's been a bust, and Lugo hasn't been the same person. But it has to be hitting. I don't know the free agent thing or what the trade market is. I know the Mets, I know their top prospect is catcher, but then I think their next top 2 prospects are third basemen. I don't know too much about the minors and the prospects, but I think they're the closest. Maybe one of those guys can step up next year. I'd have to look at their numbers and stuff like that. So they have a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, I'm disappointed because I was really pumped about this year. I liked the Carrasco move and some of the other free agency moves they did. And then they just overestimated their team. They banked, and the reason they're doing bad is their players that were supposed to perform didn't. Like McNeil, Conforto, Dom Smith. They even brought in McCann. In free agency, Lindor, these guys didn't work out. So you can't get upset. At least the one thing I will say about the Mets is they're not the old Mets like with the Wilpons and stuff. They're going to go out there and do stuff, but I also worry about them becoming like the late 80s Yankees where they would constantly spend money, bring in big players, and then they just would be bad. Because you have to have both. You can't just bring in, you have to develop too. And that's, I think, the biggest problem with the Mets. Because if you look at their team, okay, they developed deGrom, but Carrasco and Walker are free agents. They developed Pete Alonso and McNeil, but any of their first-round picks, like Dom Smith is a first-round pick. He hasn't lived up to it. Brandon Nimmo was a first-round pick. He hasn't lived up to it. Alonso's been good, but he was a second-round pick. Conforto, a first-round pick. Like, with the Yankees in the late 80s, they spent so much money and got nothing. But then in the 90s, you know what they started doing? They started doing both. They grew, their farm system. They obviously got Jeter and Mariano and Bernie and Pettit and all these guys from the minor leagues. And then they brought in, the Jimmy Keys and the Tino Martinez and stuff like that, Roger Clemens, and you could mesh. You can't just go out there I keep hearing Met fans oh, don't worry, Cohen will fix it next year. I spend a lot of money. He spent a lot of money this year. He spent a ton of money. Stroman signed the qualifying offer. That was $19 million. They signed Walker. They signed Trevor May. They signed Lindor. They brought in all these other players. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely think bottom line is shut down deGrom. It's just not worth it. They've shown no life to me either. Season is over. The Braves just always find a way. It's crazy and annoying. They remind me of the Patriots in the NFL. But that's it for now. Remember, hit that like button, subscribe. See you all later. Be safe.